Hi folks, I'm Matt and welcome to My Expanded Universe, a show where I go through the entire EU in chronological order as best I know how. Folks, it's time to tackle another Heart of Paperback trilogy from Bantam, and this is called the Black Fleet Crisis. Now, these were written by Michael P Cube-McDowell, and the three titles to each of these books are called Before the Storm, Shield of Lies, and Tyrant's Test. There's a whole lot going on in these books here. First off, there's been, I believe, over 400 days of peace, or there's been a long stretch of peace, and the New Republic's very happy about that. In fact, they even have a counter on the wall. How many days of peace have we had? And so it's really nice to see to see that there's not that much war going on and not much conflict. I mean, after year and year, month and month, and sometimes every week, something seems to be going down with Luke, Han, and Leia. It's nice to know that at least we had a little, a little smidgen of peace in between a few adventures, which is really what we need because they're not going to get this ever again. So in this time of peace, Luke is taking a sabbatical from the Jedi Academy. He's leaving all his older students in charge, and he's going to go off and just kind of meditate, take a breather here. And he runs into Akana Pell. Now, Akana Pell says, hey, I've lost my people. She's a disciple of the White Current, which is basically an offspring of Force users in a way. And she said, I've lost them. I don't know where they are, and you need to help me find them. Luke's like, why do I need to help you? And she's like, well, I think your mother is one of us, and she's with us. He's like, what, my mother? And so now, of course, he agrees to join her to go on a quest for his mother. Now, spoiler alert, it's not going to be his mother, right? He's going to find the White Current, and his mother's not there. And she admits it was a lie. It was just something to deceive him, to see if Luke could help her. Now, Luke was going to help her either way, I think, but she just felt like, oh, I need to make up something about his mom being there. Now, that wasn't discussed in the very first book. In the very first book, you were led to believe that, yes, Luke's mother is finally going to be revealed, her origin. And I remember there's a big outcry over this, like, no, you can't do this. No. The prequels hadn't come out yet, like, no, it can't be his mother. Oh, please don't do this. I knew immediately upon reading it, I was like, nope, she's lying. It's fake. It's not going to be your mother. And I remember arguing with a bunch of people saying, oh, guys, it's not going to be Luke's mother. Oh, she said it was. She said it was. They're doing it. No, they're not. She said it was, but she was lying. Come on. And of course, that's what it ended up being. So, to me, that was fine. Now, meanwhile, Lando gets his own story here, which I love because at this point, Lando has kind of fallen to the wayside. They weren't using him as much. And Michael P Cube-McDowell came with a great idea. Lando swings by, picks up Lobot for this adventure. Lobot, his old partner in crime, right, at Cloud City. This is the first and only time that we ever get Lobot included as a side character in a novel. And Lobot's a great character. He's great foil for Lando. They balance each other out. There's some comedic moments between the two. Lando's more carefree, Lobot's more thinking and everything. He's got that implant in him. And it's perfect. And that someone picked Lobot. That's just awesome. I remember Michael P Cube-McDowell telling me that when he was watching Empire Strikes Back, he thought Lobot was super cool. He went, whoa, that's a super cool character. And he wasn't in Return of the Jedi. He was kind of bummed over that. So he said, I'm going to put him in my book. And it made perfect sense to have Lando and Lobot together, the big L and L. And what they're doing is they're going after an alien ghost ship that has appeared out of nowhere. Now, of course, Lando sees fortune. There could be something of worth in there. So he brings the droids R2-D2 and C-3PO, which it's really fun use of all those characters and gives them something to do throughout the whole time. Lando has a glove ripped off, so his hand is freezing and stuff. He has to tie it up. So he's working around with one hand, and one hand's hurt. There's other things. The ship jumps into hyperspace and they go on this crazy quest. I don't think it ties into the rest of the novel, but it's a great side story that I always enjoyed going back to. What are Leia and Han doing? Well, Han's not doing much at first. Chewbacca has asked to go home to see his son Lumpy. That's right, Lumpy is in this one, and his wife and everything, Mala and everyone, because Lumpy's trying to be a man. He's trying to go through his rite of passage to become an adult. And he's been kind of disappointed. Chewie's been kind of disappointed with Lumpy because he hasn't been around. Plus his name's Lumpy. So that's a disappointment there. No, if you don't realize, they are making ties to the Christmas special. Now, this is the first time we had anyone ever mention the Star Wars Holiday Special. Now, I had seen it, just like every other fan had seen it, but we knew no one was ever going to mention that. That was not Chewbacca's family. You know, they never existed. But here, Michael P Cube-McDowell says, no, they do exist. Mala and Lumpy, or Lumparo, whatever his name is. And says, yeah, these guys do exist, and here they are. And you're like, no, shut up. This is awesome. So you're seeing the characters from the Christmas special, the holiday special. And it's a lot of fun to see that. And of course, we're back on Kashyyyk. Chewie's kind of regretting, like, hey, maybe being away from my son wasn't that good of an idea. You know, my son's not doing well on these tests and everything. And so that's what's going on with Chewie. Now, Leia is, of course, running the New Republic, and she is greeted by a guest from the deep, deep, deep core called Neil Spar. Now, there's such a cluster of stars there. It's really an unknown region. Even though Coruscant is near it, it's just so deep, we don't know who all is in there and what all is going on. So Admiral Drayson, who is Leia's, confidant or whatever, he doesn't trust Neil Spar at all. And he thinks Neil Spar is just blowing smoke. So he goes, I'm going to send a scout ship just to see if his planet is all happy and everything. No, Neil Spar is a tyrant. He's a tyrant. And Drayson has a feeling of that. So he sends a scout ship. Neil Spar destroys the scout ship and then blames it on Leia, saying, this is espionage. You people are trying to, exploit me. I'm coming here in peace. Now, this is all a ploy for Neil Spar to go to war, not with the New Republic, but with the surrounding neighbors, without the New Republic's involvement. Because he's like, oh, for this, I'm going to go out and grab more territory. And so he starts, his plan was to attack these neighboring systems all along. So now he has a reason. Because he needs to build up his resources if the Republic attacks him. And now the Republic's like, oh man, no, that's not what it is. And so it's all messed up right now because the Republic doesn't want to get involved with this war because, man, look at our record. We've gone so many days without war. Let's see if we can hold off and come with a peaceful treaty. I mean, I can kind of get that right, even though the bad guy is, Hitler's taking over his neighboring countries. You're like, not yet. We like being at peace. Well, eventually you can't help it, right? And you got to go to war. And that's exactly what the New Republic says. And so they get they recommission General Solo to go on a mission to go down and take down Neil Spar or tell him to stop. Well, of course, that doesn't go well. Neil Spar captures Han Solo, and he levies him as blackmail against Leia. He says, hey, you need to step down or I'm going to kill Han. And Leia's like, I love Han, but no, I'm not stepping down. I'm not backing down from you, you bully. And all the while, Leia is fighting her own internal struggle because there are people within the Senate who don't like her because she is, the child of Darth Vader, as is Luke. And maybe those two are in cahoots to try to take over the Republic and turn it to the new empire. Now, a lot of people didn't like this kind of twist because they said, wait a minute, that is a contradiction, Matt, because in the old Marvel comic book series, Luke and Leia made a pact saying, hey, let's not tell anyone that Darth Vader was our daddy. And of course, they keep that. The Bantam novels keep true to what happened in the Marvel comic books. Because if you recall, during the Thrawn trilogy, there's no way Thrawn would have sent the Noghray after Leia if he would have known that they were the, children of Vader. I mean, that became his undoing. So it was a widely kept secret. They had not told anyone for years. Well, I argue this, how's everyone know now where they didn't know back then? Well, they decided, you know what, it's been a while, let's go ahead and just break the news. And now that wasn't a story, it wasn't a short story, it wasn't covered in any of the novels, and it would have made a great story, I think. But obviously, between Zahn's trilogy and Black Fleet Crisis, they went ahead and just opened up and said, yes, by the way, here's what happened. Maybe after the wounds had kind of healed a little bit, they decided it was time to go ahead and admit that. For whatever reason, people know now, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine that they know now and didn't know back then. That doesn't bother me. Han is captured, and so Chewbacca and Lumpy go on a mission to rescue Han. A Wookiee strike team is assembled off Kashyyyk, and they go rescue Han. Really awesome stuff. Now, this is where Lumpy earns his stripes to be a man. He finishes his rite of passage, and he picks the name Waru. Not even making that up. W-A-R-O-O. Waru. Ha ha. That's super funny there. So he is Waru because he's really inspired by that gelatinous, meat cube with golden scales around it. Anyway, anyway, eventually the Republic beats back the Black Fleet, which is where we got the Black Fleet crisis from, and Neil Spar is destroyed. His people are still around, but they've been beaten and they're going back to their home planet, you know, kind of licking their wounds, and they'll be back one day to fight again, maybe. So anyway, that's kind of basically how it ends. Now, there is one very cool thing that Michael P Cube-McDowell has done that, to my knowledge, no one else has really done, throw connections at. He put Sindel Tatwani from the Ewoks movies in just a little bit. He just mentions her in the series. At the end of one chapter, Admiral Drayson is friends with Sindel Tatwani. She runs something called the Life Monitors, like a news outlet. Obviously poking fun at the little life monitors they had in the movies. And so Sindel Tatwani is an old friend of his, and he has her break a story for him, you know, kind of push the Republic in a certain way. And it's neat because that happens in real life, right? They leak things to the news outlets to push the public's persona in a different way. And so I get that, and I like it, but I love that Sindel Tatwani was mentioning this. It's like, shut up, that is awesome. And that she was included in this universe. So I know a lot of people did not like this book, this trilogy for some reason, but I absolutely love it. I think it's fantastic. It is one of the best trilogies, if not probably in my top 10 for novels, but definitely in my top 20. If I was to make a top 20, it'd definitely be in there because everyone was used really well. There's a lot of good humor. We got to see a lot of things we'd never seen before, like different planets and different just areas and symptoms like Lobot we get to see again and stuff like that. You got to call back to the holiday Christmas special. All that stuff I really did enjoy. So in my opinion, Black Fleet Crisis is a phenomenal trilogy. I absolutely enjoyed it. Now, I want to say that Michael P Cube-McDowell was the very first author I ever spoke to, and this is way back in the day when I was in college. I didn't have the hardback omnibus from the Science Fiction Book Club. I had joined the Science Fiction Book Club too late, and they'd sold out of those omnibuses. That was one of the first ones they'd ever made. Because I think when they started making those hardbacks, I think this was the first one. And my buddy found Michael P Cube-McDowell's email. So I started emailing him, and he was emailing me back. I was like, shut up. And that's when he was telling me, I told him how much I love the books and everything, and he was telling me, great, here's why I came up with this, here's why I put Lobot in there, and told me all this fun stuff. And then I said, yeah, you know what, I really wanted that 3-in-1 omnibus hardback, but I can't find it anywhere, and I'm so upset by that. And then he responded back, he's like, hey, you know what, I have 2. What's your address? Because the company had given him 2. So this is one from the library of Michael P Cube-McDowell, and he was so kind. He has a son named Matt. And he had told me that, and so he sent me this in the mail, and I remember getting it. Didn't ask to pay for. He paid for shipping and everything, and then it says for Matt Wilkins, "May the Force be with you, Michael P Cube-McDowell." I have to admit, I already love these books, but obviously I like Michael P Cube-McDowell. He's a fantastic dude, really awesome guy. I haven't talked to him since, to be honest, since the late 90s, I guess. But I did thank him for this. I thought it was awesome. I love all my books mean something to me, but this has a special place in my heart because it came from the author, and the author was really kind. That was my first experience with any Star Wars author, and I was so excited. So I love him. I wish he would have written more. I remember he had a new I think it was called a K-bomber, and I thought that was so cool because anything with a letter and says wing on it, I'm like, ooh, a K-wing bomber or whatever. That's interesting. So he came up with his own vehicle too. I don't think it was that big of a deal, I guess, but I enjoyed the story. I thought it was very creative. It feels like Star Wars. It feels like a great adventure, and if you want to read it, it's well worth your time. All right, folks, that's all the time I have for now. See you later with another video.